Thanks to EA for sponsoring this video. Hey lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. Welcome back to my Wisteria Lane build. This is part 2. In part 1, I worked on the exterior of Wisteria Lane from Desperate Housewives, and in this video, in part 2, I'm going to furnish the houses. First of all, I want to say thank you. After I uploaded part 1, I was so excited because as a lifelong Simmer and a huge Desperate Housewives fan, this is something that I wanted to do since forever, and I'm going to be honest, I think I never really did it because I was scared to not do it justice. It was one of those things that you want to do once and you want to do it right, and maybe this is why I never really attempted to build Wisteria Lane. But I was so excited to upload part 1 and I received so many lovely comments, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your lovely reaction. I'm so glad that most of you really enjoyed the build, and yeah, now it's time to furnish and to really finish this build off. Before we continue, remember to use code EMERALD when shopping Sims 4 packs to support me and my channel. Add a pack to your cart, enter EMERALD and apply the code. Right now there's a special promotion where you will save 5% on Sims 4 packs with my code. Thank you so much for your support. So this is Susan Meyer's house, and this is where I'm going to start the furnishing process. I separated the speed build into the different houses. I'm going to include the main houses, and after this video is out, so when you are watching this build is available in the gallery. My ID is KateEmerald, so you can go grab this from the gallery, and I'm going to add so many screenshots so you will be able to see all the different houses and rooms in the end. This speed build would have been so long if I would have included every single house and room, but I totally wanted to show you like the main process of the main houses. And I was looking at so many screenshots for this, and working on the interior was much more difficult for me than working on the exterior because, first of all, sets can be confusing. Stuff is like changing. For example, the Scavo house has blue walls. This is how I've always remembered this. But then when I was like rewatching, I'm currently watching season 1. I've almost finished season 1 at this point. Like the walls weren't blue, but then like in the middle of the season, I think the walls were suddenly blue. I thought, okay, this is like how I furnished this build, and this is also what I remembered and saw on photos online. And also the biggest issue whenever you're working on a build like this is that the exterior rarely matches the interior. Like we see a house from the outside, but then what we see on the inside doesn't really match, and this can be difficult. Yeah, so here I'm furnishing Susan's house. I replicated the kitchen as best as I could. I placed the beautiful round cozy cute table in the corner, and here you can see the measuring cup. The measuring cup is iconic. If you know, you know. Season 1 of Desperate Housewives, I just totally wanted to include the measuring cup very prominently on the counter. And when you think of the exterior, we have this little nook, and there are like windows going all around it, and this is where I placed the breakfast table, so it's really cozy. Then in Susan's kitchen, we also have like the washer and dryer, like a little laundry nook, which is like directly connected to the kitchen. And in some scenes, there was a table in between the door and the island counter. I didn't include it because I just followed the regular layout that I found. I then worked on this little nook, and this is often described as Susan's second living room. So this is like another living room or front room. When you enter the house to the right, you have a really small living room. It's really cozy and kind of squeezed in between like the stairs and the front door. In the early beginning of season 1, you could see that there was like a desk in the background and her art supplies, and I think later in the season we see that the art supplies are in the other living room, in the main living room. And here I just followed what I saw in the beginning of season 1, and I just thought it would make sense to use this little nook as a like combination of a small living room and her art station, because Susan is an illustrator, so this was really important to include. And then in the back behind the stairs, we have a hallway, and then we have a dining room and a living room. I was running out of space here, and the living room is not looking exactly like what we see in the show, but I totally wanted to include a living room, and I did my best to really make it look like in the show, but there are limitations. In case you've watched part 1 of this, I was kind of struggling to really fit all the houses onto one lot, because this is one giant 64 by 64 lot, and I was really trying to squeeze everything onto one lot. I really wanted to recreate the shapes of the house, and then when you take a look on the inside and you have to like really take the floor plan that you found online and you have to like make it fit into the house that you've built, things can be difficult. I think I like made it work most of the time, but here, for example, I would have loved to like have a bigger living room in the back. Also, sometimes the way the windows lined up and in general, like the second floors were like really difficult. I found so many floor plans for the first floor, so like the living room, kitchen area and stuff, but then like the bedrooms and everything was a blur. So I most of the time just tried to have a solid floor plan for the second floor. So we have like a hallway and then bedrooms, just a regular floor plan. And I then looked up pictures of the different bedrooms and I tried to make it match a little bit or as much as possible. But I feel like I definitely took the most liberties here, like for some builds. And yeah, this is like Susan's bedroom, for example, really cute and cozy. And these bedrooms are like really simple. And when I was working on Julie's bedroom, I made it like really cute and like pastel colored and a little bit pink, because this is like the whole vibe of Susan's house. And then after I was done, I saw that in the show, I totally forgot this and I couldn't find pictures online, but I then saw that Julie's bedroom is actually like really green, like the bed and the dresser are green, but here it's like more like soft and muted and really cute. But I feel like it totally fits the vibe of Susan's house and also Julie's vibe, in my opinion. And this is like in the front, in the center, you can see the little triangular window where you can like look out and see the street. And I also, of course, included bathrooms and everything, and I also cluttered this a little bit. I feel like Susan's house is like so whimsical and cute, and it's definitely one of my favorites, like ever since I started watching the show back then, like my first time watching it. I was kind of asking myself which would be my favorite house, and I have no idea, because like I feel like Gabby's house is so luxurious and a beautiful mansion, but Susan's home is so cozy. Then again, I love how classy and beautiful Bree's house is, and I also love like the Scavo house layout with the platform and the stairs, and I cannot choose. I have no idea. I may be leaning towards Susan's house actually. And here you can see lots of screenshots, so I decided to include the screenshots after each house, after each segment, so you saw how I furnished this. And here you can see all the screenshots, and I'm going to do the same for the other houses, of course. And we are going to continue in a second with Bree Van de Kamp's house, which was so much fun to furnish, and it was really easy to build like the exterior of Bree's house, while other houses were like super difficult, especially Gabby's house and also Susan's house, because Susan's house has a very interesting shape from the outside, different levels, it has a very distinct layout. And Gabby's house was also quite difficult to create, especially because, as I explained in part 1, I had to stick with one wall height for each level, of course, so this was really interesting. But Bree's house is like really simple. It has this very classy colonial layout, very boxy kind of in a way. You really just have a lovely colonial box with beautiful windows and landscaping, but the shape was relatively easy to create. And yeah, here we can see Susan's garage, and this is her bedroom, which is looking so cute and cozy. I love the curtains. And here's another shot of Susan's bedroom. You can see that I cluttered this a bit to make it look cute. And this is Julie's bedroom, and I then also included 2 shots of the floor plan, so you can like really see what's going on. And yeah, now we are going to continue with Bree's interior. Bree's house has a really classy style in general, and I was looking at so many pictures, photos, screenshots from the show, and I was able to replicate the floor plan really well. And here I'm working on the kitchen, and you can see that the fridge is placed on a diagonal wall, and then we have the shelves on the left and right side, which is exactly what we see in the show. So this layout is really, really similar. I was also able to place the stairs the same way in the show. Everything is like really, really similar. So I feel like this is like really true to the show as much as possible. I had one issue though. This kitchen is really small. The whole house was relatively small. As I also said while I was furnishing Susan's house, it's like really difficult to squeeze all these houses onto one lot and like to have them big enough to really turn this into proper houses. But it worked out. I just made some changes. So I made the kitchen a little bit bigger, and this made the diagonal wall a little bit smaller for the fridge, but it was still working out. But by making these changes, I was able to have a slightly bigger dining room. So everything is like connected, and this like tiny doorway on the left side of the kitchen right next to this little table, the breakfast nook, like we see that there are like different shelves, and I feel like this is also where we would be wrapping presents, probably like one of those rooms. And this is where I'm going to build a laundry room because it just made sense for the Sims and to make it like functional. And here I'm working on the dining room. This is before I made everything like one tile bigger, because you can see that this is like really tight. There isn't a lot of space, and I didn't want Sims to get stuck. So my initial plan was to like move the shelves into the wall to also replicate the shelves we see in the show, because behind this wall we have this tiny triangular room. I thought it would be like a smart idea, but I then thought, okay, I just need more space. So I like made some changes, and I then had more space. As you can here see in the show, the fireplace would be on the other side, but I placed it in the center again to save a little bit of space. I then worked on one of the living rooms, and this is exactly what we see in the show. When you would be in the living room, you could like see the stairs and also the dining room. I think the wall right next to the stairs might not be there, but it like separated everything a bit. I was also looking up the furniture, and you have to work with what you got in The Sims for a replica like this, but I was trying to really nail the style, and I was also trying to find items which have a very similar color. I thought the grandfather clock would make sense there, and I was like furnishing everything, and the lamp, like the ceiling lamp, looks like basically identical, which was so cool. It's like really an identical item, and this was like, it just made me happy because I was trying to find objects which like make sense and which look similar, and then I stumble upon the ceiling lamp which is like identical. And this is the second living room. I placed a TV there. I'm not sure if in the show this is the living room with the TV, but it made sense to place the TV over there. It has to be functional and it has to make sense in The Sims. We also need a desk and a computer in The Sims. We need a TV for entertainment purposes, and I thought, okay, I'm going to use this living room for this. I then placed candles and also flowers on the tables. Bree loves her flowers. She loves to garden. When she like serves breakfast, for example, she like goes into her own garden and she grabs some flowers and puts them in a vase. She's like, everything is just so perfect. This is like what Bree is all about. So I totally wanted to include these beautiful flowers. I then worked on the main bedroom, on Bree's bedroom, and I found pictures of this. We have this like bed which looks like really rustic and simple, and this also looks very similar, and this is like not a very exciting bedroom or room, but this looks also pretty similar to what we see in the show, especially the type of bed and the rug, and it just has this vibe. As I said, for Susan's house, I had issues finding authentic floor plans for the second floor, and here I also winged the floor plan. So the floor plan at the bottom is like really, really close to the show, like almost 100%. Not really all the dimensions, but it's like the same. And then for this floor, it's like I just winged it a little bit, but I still furnished the bedrooms very closely to what we see in the show. This is Andrew's bedroom, and Andrew's bedroom has green wallpaper and also like some traffic signs above the bed. I didn't find anything that was a perfect match, so I just used these arrows, and it has like this very dark wooden vibe. It's like a really gloomy, dark teenager room in a gray, so I decided to use this type of furniture. It's definitely not as glamorous as the rest of the house. Everything is so perfect in Bree's house, but Andrew's room is just a really typical teenager room, and I was trying to like clutter it and to include all necessities, so it really looks like a proper teenager room. And I also included this retro computer because I love when I'm watching older TV shows like Desperate Housewives. No one has a smartphone. We don't see like phones in general all the time. It's not like as present, and it just has a certain charm. You just see these like retro shows, and I also totally wanted to include this old computer and not like some type of, I don't know, hyper modern computer. And I just love how this turned out. And here you can see lots of screenshots of the Van de Kamp home. Here you can see the house from the top. You can really see the layout and some more screenshots. I just love how classy and warm this is. I also found different wallpapers in different screenshots, but most of the time I saw this like beige warm wallpaper, and I also think it just makes sense. It really matches the vibe. I think later on Bree has like a blue sofa, and there are like lots of changes throughout the seasons, but I generally like stuck to season 1 here a lot, also to not give away any plot points. So if you have never watched the show, I'm not spoiling anything here. And yeah, this is the kitchen again, and I had so much fun working on this. The kitchen is like so detailed like in the show, and you know I love to use too many cabinets, but when you look at Bree Van de Kamp's kitchen, there are also lots of cabinets, so I just felt really good working on this kitchen. And then we have like the other living room, and I didn't include Danielle's bedroom in the speed build, but you will see a screenshot here, and I just wanted to have like a really cute, cozy bedroom that I felt like matches the vibe. I didn't find any like photos of her bedroom, and like so far in the show I didn't stumble upon the bedroom, so I just created a like beautiful pastel pink bedroom, like really cozy and cute. And I also included one additional bedroom, and I just want this to be as cute as possible. And now we continue with Gabrielle Solis' house. And this is probably the most iconic house in Wisteria Lane and also in Colonial Street, which is the name of the street in real life, like the name of the backlot. It's used to film music videos, other shows, also commercials, just different things. And I feel like Gabby's house just stands out. It has this beautiful yellow color, and it's very luxurious. I was facing a lot of problems with this house because it's so grand, but the space was limited, as I've now mentioned multiple times. And I feel like when I was working on Gabby's house, I really noticed that I would have needed a little bit more space also here for the interior. And I also had to place the stairs diagonally because this is the only house on this lot which was built diagonally, because when you take a look at Wisteria Lane, this house is like angled and it's like sitting in the curve, and I wanted to replicate this, so I totally had to build this house diagonally. And I said in my last video that I had like a first attempt before I built this version, and my first attempt was so that all builds were diagonally and only Gabby's house was built straight. And I'm so glad that I started over, because the first version had like multiple issues. But honestly, like stairs cannot be placed diagonally which is a huge issue. And I was already like really struggling with this when I was working on Gabby's house. And just imagine if I would have built all the other houses diagonally, it would have been bad. But I was able to like place them so it made sense. And I was also looking up like a floor plan and different things. So when you enter the house, you have the stairs, and then to the left we have a dining table and also a small living room area, and then behind this we have a kitchen. The kitchen has a big island counter, lots of cabinets, and you always tell me that I'm using like too many counters and cabinets, and you're right, but I feel like this is where I got this from. Like, my builds are so over the top, and like this felt natural to me. Like, recreating this was fine. If I would recreate something else, like more toned down, it would be much different, because maybe the kitchens would be really compact, but this like felt really good. I had such a great time furnishing this. And here I'm working on the patio in the front a bit, which is one of the most iconic places in this show, because Gabby has this giant patio, and there are lots of scenes where the ladies are sitting on the patio having a very serious conversation about some drama or a secret which is happening in Wisteria Lane. So this is like very prominently featured in the show, and so is the dining room and living room area. I would have loved for this to be bigger, and this is something that I was really struggling with, and I just would have loved to have a little bit more space for this, but like making this a lot bigger would have also changed the shape on the outside drastically. So this was really difficult, but I managed to like include everything and to replicate the layout. And I then started to work on the other living room, and I'm really not sure about this. Like, I was looking up floor plans, and I really wasn't sure about this one, to be honest, but I just included it because I saw it on floor plans, and I think it also makes sense gameplay wise to have this additional living room. And in big mansions you always have like a smaller version and then a second living room. It's also something that I generally love to include in my mansions. We also saw this in Bree's home, also in Susan's home. I feel like the only home that doesn't really have this is Lynette's home, probably, but I could be wrong. Like, maybe I completely missed something, but we only have like this big beautiful living room, including the fireplace in Lynette's home, as we will see after, like Gabby's home. After this I'm going to work on Lynette's home. And yeah, this was like so much fun, like also cluttering the kitchen a little bit and everything. I wanted this to be like really detailed, and Gabby's home in general has this very luxurious vibe, and I included these wall decorations from the castle kit to give it this vibe. And I also made changes to the wallpaper because I felt like it wasn't luxurious enough and it wasn't really like having the same vibe that we see in the show. So I made some changes to this, but I feel like it turned out nicely. And this is one of the most important parts about Gabby's home. This is the bathroom and bedroom area. So this house is very luxurious, and in the show we oftentimes see the bedroom, and when we see the bedroom we oftentimes also see a hallway in the background, and we are looking into the bathroom. So everything is connected, and then connected to the hallway we have a walk-in closet, and this is exactly what I did here. We see a beautiful bathtub prominently featured in Gabby's bathroom a lot of the times. It's also like sitting on a little pedestal, and I just raised the platform, and I would have loved to have the bathtub perfectly lined up with the hallway, but this wasn't working out because of the shape. Again, I like had to make this work, but we have this really luxurious bathroom, we have the hallway, we have the walk-in closet, and just anything you would like expect here, because it just has to look like Gabby's bedroom and the bathroom. And I had so much fun working on this because it's so luxurious. I added the doorways to connect this because it's like open. I also like added a really small room to like include the toilet, because this is like very open, so you could like be in the bed and you could look over to the bathtub. It's like an open concept, so I of course had to separate the toilet. I then worked on the walk-in closet. Luckily we have dream home decorators, so I was able to like make this functional, and I used a lot of packs for this because I feel like I just had to use anything the game has to offer to make this as authentic as possible. And yeah, having Dream Home Decorator for this, for example, was just perfect to really bring this to life. I'm going to make like a small change to this because I thought, okay, the hallway is like a little bit too slim. I didn't want Sims to get stuck. So I'm going to remove one tile from the walk-in closet to make the hallway bigger. And in the bedroom, we also see a fireplace and everything. We see this beautiful type of bed. And I was just looking at items again to see which would match. And I also used these beautiful plants everywhere and just decorated this and just made this as beautiful as possible. And I think the wallpaper from Get Famous was just perfect for this, like so dreamy, and I just love this. It's just so luxurious. And I feel like this is probably the most popular house in Wisteria Lane, like if people had to choose. I think it's iconic. Oh, and here you can see the separate toilet actually. And yeah, now we are going to take a look at all the screenshots. Here you can see the house from the top. You can see the diagonal stairs, which I had to build this way because the build itself, like the house on this lot, is diagonal, but it makes sense. I think it's looking great. We have the dining area, including the small living room area with the TV. We have the beautiful kitchen with the gigantic island counter, the additional living room, which I saw in the floor plans, and another close-up of the beautiful TV area and a close-up of the kitchen. And in the kitchen we also have a small breakfast nook, and this is the floor at the top, and we can see the bedroom there and everything, and the beautiful colors. It's just so inviting and warm. Of course, the iconic bathtub, and it's really iconic. We see it so many times, and whenever like there's a scene in the bedroom and we like catch a glimpse of the bathtub in the background, it's just amazing. And yeah, now it's time to work on the Scavo house. This is Lynette's home, and building this house was so much fun. The exterior is relatively simple, like compared to the other homes. It was relatively simple to build, and working on the interior was really fun because look at this, we have this platform situation with the stairs, and for me, when I watched the show for the first time, this really stood out. And I remember wanting to replicate this in The Sims, and back then we didn't even have The Sims 3 probably. I don't know when I was trying to work on this, probably in The Sims 2. And I was so obsessed with this. I generally love when you have like different levels, and by now we know this because especially for exteriors I'm always including like platforms, foundations, also walkout basements and stuff. I love this. And like also for the interior, like this immediately caught my eye back then. So working on this here and being able to properly build this using the platforms made me really happy. I used this beautiful blue wallpaper. I already mentioned this earlier. At the very beginning of season 1, the wallpaper isn't blue yet as far as I know. And yeah, here I'm using the iconic blue wallpaper. To me, when I think Scavo house and when I think of the interior, I'm just thinking blue. The exterior is green actually, but the blue wallpaper is just a must for this. And we have this really interesting layout with the platforms and the stairs, and then we have the beautiful living room in the front, and then we have the kitchen. And here I'm like freestyling a bit, like I'm just building something to make it look more like what we see in the show. And in the show actually, on the left side, like behind the stove, there would be a doorway leading into a laundry room. Here I like couldn't include it this way because this is like where the Scavo house stops and Susan's house just starts. So I just decided to use the little area behind the stairs as a laundry area. So it's still like included in the build, but the layout is like slightly different. And I then cluttered this a little bit. The Scavo home is full of love, laughter, and chaos because of the kids. This is like immediately in season 1, everything is like, there's like a lot going on in Lynette's house, and I totally wanted to like capture this vibe, so I included lots of toys and clutter in the living room. There's like so much going on. It's very lived in, which is like the fun about this home. And I totally wanted to do this justice. I feel like every home has like different items which are important to like really turn it into this specific house. Like, for example, in Susan's home, the art supplies, also the measuring cup probably. And I feel like here in this home, it's all about the toys and it's like really chaotic. And I also like placed these beautiful little shelves in front of the small windows to like really clutter this more. And here I'm like adding so many toys and stuff. There's like a lot going on. I feel like this house would be so much fun for family gameplay. And after all, this is what it's about. Like Bree's home, for example, Bree has 2 teenagers right at the start of season 1. So it's all like more like it's not as focused on like kids or anything, but the Scavo home is all about having a family and toys and everything. And for family gameplay in The Sims, this could be really fun. Here you just saw how I included the laundry area, and yeah, this is like a bit weird, and I knew that I would have to like compromise a little bit, and I knew that I would have to explain this to you, but yeah, this dining room is in the garage. So from the outside, you see the garage to really make it look like the Scavo home, but on the inside, like I was running out of space. This is like one of the compromises I had to make. Like this is actually the garage, and it's like not really that visible from the inside because of the curtains, but this is like a really interesting layout. But yeah, and the other compromise was that Gabby's home does not have a garage at all. So there were like some sacrifices, compromises, and yeah, here I'm working on the bedroom, on Tom's and Lynette's bedroom, and there's like a separation. There's like this half wall and a pillar, and behind it we see a dresser, and the layout is a little bit different, but this is like one of the prominent features of this bedroom in my opinion. So I also separated this a bit and included the dresser in there. I think it's looking so cool. This is like the whole vibe of this house. Like when you look at the separation, like the half walls and then the layout of the living room, like the platforms and everything is like separated in such a cool way, which makes everything so interesting kind of. I just love this. And here we see lots of screenshots. So I, of course, also included the twins bedroom and generally multiple bedrooms, and you could like make changes to the twins bedroom depending on their age. So you could also like use a bunk bed, for example. So it's probably like it's depending on how or where you start the Desperate Housewives gameplay in this house, basically. And yeah, here we see the kitchen again, and I just love the doorway, the spandrels. I love how separated and beautiful this home is. I don't know, like it just scratches a like specific part of my brain. Like ever since I watched the show, the platforms, the doorways, the spandrels, the pillars, all the like different, the way all the different areas are separated. I cannot stop talking about this. I love this so much. And yeah, here we can see the beautiful dining room, and it's overall just so cozy and warm. I also cluttered the like bedrooms, the twins room. We have another kids room here, also very cluttered and lived in and beautiful. And I think that the Scavo home is like so stunning. It's just not my favorite on the outside, like in Wisteria Lane, but the interior is everything. And this is it. This very long video is slowly coming to an end. You can here see so many screenshots. I took screenshots from above of the different levels, so you can really see the inside. You can see the full street from the top, and you can generally see the floor plans and how it's looking like. You can here also see that I included the jacuzzi and the pool to Gabrielle's house because it was featured in the show actually. And I like generally included some patios and a little bit of garden furniture. I placed some debug cars in the driveways and also in some of the garages, so it's like a proper garage, I guess. And yeah, everything is fully furnished and I really try to do it justice. And here you can also see Mike's house. So this is the interior and this is what it's looking like. As I said earlier, I only included the whole building process of the 4 main characters' houses, but here you can see like some of the other houses that I included, so you get an idea what I did here and how I furnished this. This one is looking really rustic, warm and inviting. I love this so much. Here you can see Paul Young's house, which has a really gray and almost modern interior. I feel like it's the most modern interior out of all the homes on Wisteria Lane. And this is the Mullins house, and this is really small and it was really difficult to make this work, and this is like not as close to the show as the other houses. And yeah, this is it. I want to remind you that you can use code Emerald to support me and my channel if you want to. I would like to say thank you for watching, thank you for your support, and if you haven't watched part 1, you can do that. And I love you all so much. I hope that you enjoyed this video and Wisteria Lane. You can grab this from the gallery ID KateEmerald. I love you all so much. Bye bye.